Friday today, you guys. We have a lunging good time coming your way. We have a nice little work set coming up for you. First things first, though, our warm-up, where it consists of some dynamic triangle of 3 to 5 aside, single leg good morning with rotation for 3 aside, single leg RDL, 3 aside, and a sumo squat for 3 at a 3-1-3 tempo. Just getting the body a little bit ready, right? We're gonna hit that for 2 rounds. We'll move down, weighted dead bug for 10 alternating reps, single leg bridge march for 30 seconds, and a bridge pullback for 3 at a 5 to 10 second contraction for two rounds of work. Now this piece here is all about getting that glute, getting that hip fired up and ready for action while stabilizing and working through a nice stable pelvis and sternum. From here, we're going to move into some dumbbell skill work for the pause, push press, and those dips. So we're going to work on our dumbbell pause dip for 3 at 3 seconds, dumbbell push press for 3 reps, and a dumbbell overhead dip for 3. So it's a nice little complex to work on your push press positioning. After that, you're going to work on your standing lunge, 3 reps per side. Loading it, not loading it, it's up to you. You can add a tempo in there as well. We're just using that to get our lunge fired up. 2 rounds, and then we're going to hit the work set. The work set is only 7 minutes, so I want you guys to make sure you're good and ready for this workout today, because it is going to be a doozy. We have 7 minutes, max rep, lunges. But there's a catch. You start every minute with 6 dumbbell push press. So you're going to take down 6 push press, move back into your lunges, and continue working through that for 7 minutes. Now the lunge itself is not meant to be loaded. If you really want to load it, you're more than welcome to, but we want to make sure that we can keep the lunge steady. So we shouldn't have a load that we can't do for the majority of that minute, or the leftover portion of that minute that we have after the push press. So we want to make sure that we can get right into it and keep those reps pumping for a little while. I'll also have some variations for the lunge. Check the workout description, pick the modification or movement that's going to suit you best today, and we'll get you guys going and have some fun today. All right, let's get those feet under the hips. Take the arms big and tall up overhead. We're going to stretch it over to one side. We'll take it over to the other side, and then we're going to hinge it out. We're going to take it all the way to the floor. Touch those toes. We're going to walk it back up part way. Come down, framing the foot. We'll step it back into our lizard. Inside hand's going to lock the foot down. Leg in the back is straight and our hips are square. Let's take our knee down. We're going to press the hip. We're going to come back to center, straighten the leg, and then turn the torso. We'll come back through, lower the knee, press the hip, back to center, straighten, and straighten. Come back through, lower, press the hip, come back through, straighten, turn the torso, and then come back to center, plant the hand, and step it back into that down dog. Reaching those hips nice and high. Let's walk our heels out nice and slow. We're going to be using our feet quite a bit today, so we want to make sure we get those ankles good and fired up just a little bit. Get the feet happy and awake. We're going to come back into our plank. We're going to step that other foot up. Locking that front foot down. We're going to lower the back knee. Press the hip gently. Come back through. Straighten out the back leg. Turn. Come back through. Lower. Press the hip. Come back to center. Straighten the leg. Turn. Come back through. One more time. Lower. Press the hip. Come back through. Straighten. And turn. Good. Plant the hand. Step her back again. Set up in that nice down dog. Set those shoulders. Just walk those heels out slow. Feeling out those calves and ankles a little bit. Making sure things feel pretty good as we get that body moving. We'll come back into our plank. We're going to tiptoe those feet up. We're going to roll ourselves up. Big stretch. Big reach. Big reach. Come down with those hands. Whew. Let's get you guys fired up and ready to go. So, pause the video if you'd like to take down any extra warm-up for yourself. Please do so. Get your body ready. Short workout, so take that time to prime. And we're going to talk about that first phase of our warm-up. All right, our first phase of warm-up is going to kickstart off with our dynamic triangle. So we're just going to work on opening up our mid-back, our T-spine, and those hips. So we're going to turn one toe towards the side. We're going to turn the other toe on this angle, so my hips are on this nice open angle to a diagonal. We're going to put one hand on the thigh, big reach to the ceiling. Let's pull the hip back into our nice hinge, and then we're going to slowly take the body back up. We're going to pull the hip back into that nice hinge, and slowly take the body back up. And then one more time, we take that body back, so we get that hinge position. We're reaching up to the ceiling, and as we're doing this, we're sliding that hand, tracing down the shin. So it's very important we keep in mind those key points. That little hip hinge, all right, so that little pull back of the hip is going to get the body starting, and we're always pushing up into the ceiling, especially if you're loading that movement. But even if you're not, I want you guys to imagine that you're loading that arm, and we're active, maintaining that good strong shoulder stack position. From there, we're going to continue working on single leg work, and we're going to work on our good morning with a single leg with rotation. So my feet are going to come hip width apart. My one heel is going to go just out in front of the toe. My knuckles can come together. I like them together. You don't have to do them together per se, but we're going to squeeze the glute. We're going to pull the hip back, which creates that good hinge. Once we get to end range, we're going to rotate towards that lead knee and then come back nice and tall. And you can smooth that out. So you can squeeze, pull back, weight through the midfoot, and then rotate as we come back to end range. So the big thing here with this is it's really easy to lose our balance if we start to disengage our mind from the movement. So focus on a couple key points and try not to rush that hinge. I want you to really feel that hamstring and glute up in the upper portion, because if we feel it in the bottom half, we need to make sure we're squeezing and engaging through the glutes. Now after that, we're going to continue with some more single leg, and we're going to move into our single leg RDL. We're not going to do this loaded today, we're just going to work on priming up our hamstring. So our toe is going to be slightly behind in that kickstand position. We're going to square up the hip and bring our hands to the side just like we're going to hold if we're going to hold a dumbbell. We're going to pull the hip in that same good morning hip hinge as we take the hands down to the knee or just below and stand tall. Again, taking the time to really focus on keeping the hips square, keeping that torso square, and really feeling that hamstring up in that upper hamstring, low glute. So pulling back into that good hinge, making sure we're staying square and tight through the upper back so we don't get that slouch rounded position. From here, we're going to pull all that single leg stuff together in our Sumo Squat. So our Sumo Squat is going to come back out to that Sumo stance. It's a wider stance, but again, it's not wide enough that we can't keep the knees tracking the toes. So as I set my hips and glutes, I'm going to pull my hips to my heels, pushing my knees out so that they track the toes. So a little bit more attention to those knees and those knees out engagement. So from the side in that profile, I'm standing tall, I squeeze, I push those knees out relatively hard as I find that nice squat and then stand tall. So it's all our normal squat mechanics, just with that slightly wider position. Now as a quick recap, we have our dynamic triangle for 3 to 5 aside, single legged morning with rotation, 3 aside, single leg RDL 3 aside, and our Sumo Squat for 3 at a 3-1-3 tempo. So slowing that squat down a little bit so we can really bring the hips and legs together. We'll hit that for 2 rounds. Pause the video, take it down, get that body fired up. We're going to lay down for our next phase, but we're going to need a dumbbell to start it off. Our next phase of work we're going to work with is in our bridge position. So we're going to start off with some weighted dead bugs. So my dumbbell is going to be waiting for me back here. I'm going to lay down just like I was going to do a bridge. So my feet are going to be just outside the fingers. I'm going to pull my ribs in so I have contact with the floor in my low back. Now with the dumbbell, we're going to get that dumbbell up over the chest, and I'm going to actively press into that dumbbell nice and solid. So there's always that little engagement through the shoulders. So from here, my low back's in contact, my shoulders are reaching to the ceiling. I'm going to lift my feet up into that 90-90 position. Now maintaining that contact with the low back, the pressure upwards, I'm going to either lower my foot down with a bent knee, or I'm going to extend my leg straight out and then pull back in. And then alternate either a bent knee or straight leg. Again, the whole time we're moving that leg, we're focusing on pulling those ribs in, so making that sternum and belly button kind of come together as we create that nice stable pelvis. Now with the dumbbell, depending on your shoulder range, we can take it from this above the chest position to slightly behind the shoulder. So depending on your comfort with that position and that ability to keep that low back into the floor, you can take it back just a little bit beyond the shoulder, which is going to challenge your shoulder position and your midline just a little bit more. But remember, we don't want to go there just yet unless we're really comfortable in that shoulder stability, in that shoulder position. Now, once we're done our dead bugs, we're going to move into our single leg bridge march. So this is a really cool little exercise that we can really take some time to work on stacking that sternum and making sure that everything is engaged through the midsection. I'm going to reach my arms up again, so no dumbbell, but I'm going to reach my arms up to the ceiling, pressing those shoulders up to the sky. From here, I'm going to pull my ribs in, and then I'm going to lift into my bridge. So my ribs are pulled in, I'm nice and stacked, and then I'm going to work on lifting a leg and switching. It does not have to be super high in terms of lifting that leg, but we're just working on taking away a point of balance and working on keeping that engagement through the core and keeping that engagement through the arms reaching to the ceiling. You're just going to take it back and forth with just very subtle pauses at the top and bottom of each movement to make sure that we're staying stable and keeping it nice and steady. And you can do that for 30 seconds. When we're done that bridge, we're going to bring our hands down. We're going to push them into the floor a little bit, pull the ribs in. We're going to lift into our bridge, shift the weight to the balls of the feet, and then we're going to pull the heels back towards the glutes. They're not going to move anywhere, but you are certainly going to feel it in your hamstrings. So what we're trying to do is draw the heel back towards our glutes, and that's going to feel like you're pulling that hamstring and contracting that hamstring, because you are. So what we want to do is 3 reps, working through that setup each time. So each time we do that, what we want to think about in that checklist is we want to think shoulders to the sky, ribs in, weight to the toes, pull. All right? We've talked about this before as well. There is a difference between shifting our weight to the balls of the feet and pushing into our toes. All right? We want to just shift the weight forward, which is going to take and lessen some of the weight in my heels, but we're not pushing into the toe. That's just going to create extra tension in the calf, which we don't necessarily want. So take your time with those, set each rep up. You have 5 to 10 second holds in that contraction. It's a really nice way to fire up your hamstrings and say hello to them first thing in the morning or later in the day. As a quick recap, we have our weighted dead bug for 10 alternating reps, single leg bridge march for 30 seconds, bridge pullback for 3 at 5 to 10 second kind of holds and contraction for 2 rounds. That's going to really fire up the core and get that hamstring ready for action. Pause the video, take down that quick little piece that's going to help you get ready to go. We're going to come at you next with a little bit of push press skill work and some lunge skill work. Okay, our next phase of work is going to kick into our dumbbell push press skill work. So what we need to do is we need to clean the dumbbell up to the shoulder so we're in our good front rack position. My feet are under my hips or slightly outside of my hips, but my toes can be slightly turned out, especially if you have tight ankles like myself. What we're going to start off with is a nice vertical dip. So I squeeze, set, so I'm nice and engaged. I'm going to dip so my knees go slightly out and my feet stay flat. And then I'll stand. From profile, that dip just goes straight down. So my hips stay underneath of my shoulders, my weight stays through my midfoot. Once I'm done 3 pause dips, I'm going to go into the push press. So I'm going to hit that same dip, drive out of the bottom, pressing that dumbbell up, and then come back down. Reset the core, hit that dip, drive up overhead. From here, you want to think about the legs and the hips doing the work, the arm continuing the momentum. So with this push press, I get set, I dip, drive, and I drive through the arm to continue the momentum. On my 3rd rep, I'm going to hold the dumbbell overhead, ribs tight, glutes tight, and then I dip and try and hit that same depth of dip if I can, and stand. So I'm working on that jerk receiving position. It's just a great way to open up the hips and open up that shoulder girdle as well. So it's going to get some good heat in that shoulder for you. Now with that work set, all right, we're not really using the receiving position of the jerk in the workout, but it is a great way to warm up that push press and get things really fired up and ready. With these push press, again, we want to try and keep that foot as flat as we can for as long as we can. It's normal for the heels to come off the floor at the end of that drive, but we want to try and keep them as flat as we can, like I say, for as long as we can, because that's going to help generate more power and keep us more balanced. Once we're done our push press stuff, we can put the dumbbell down if you'd like, and we're going to get ourselves set up in our squat stance. And from here, you're going to step a foot forward, you're going to step a foot back, and you're going to work on your standing lunge drill. So my legs are straight, my toes are pointing straight ahead. I have a pretty decent 50-50 balance between my legs. Now my heel in the back is up, and it's very important that we keep our toes straight ahead so my hips can be square to the front. I'm going to squeeze my glutes, I'm going to lower down into the bottom of that lunge, keeping the knee over top of the heel, the back knee under the hip and under the shoulder, and then I rise straight back up. So if you don't feel comfortable to go all the way down to the floor without banging or losing control, take it to where you feel comfortable. Work that depth, try and stay a little bit more in the back leg, because what tends to happen is we shift forward in our lunge. So we want to think about sitting in our back leg just a little bit more as we take that leg down. We have 3 per side of this. I like to do these with a tempo. Play with it how you need to, but make sure we're focusing on control and posture. As a quick recap, we have a dumbbell pause dip, 3 at 3 seconds, dumbbell push press for 3, dumbbell pause overhead dip, 3 at 3 seconds, and a standing lunge at 3 aside. Take that down, pause the video, rock it, get those skills done, and we're going to talk about some lunges and how this workout's going to go. We've made it to the work set, you guys. Here it is. AMRAP, 7 minutes. Woo! Max rep lunge. All right, so the lunge. Let's talk about the lunge first. The lunge can be forward or back. Right? It can also be that standing lunge drill. But if you're going to do the standing lunge drill, make sure you're alternating every 5 reps, or even 3, depending on how long it takes you to get through those reps. Because we want to make sure we get a balance per leg each minute. Now with this, with the lunge, we're going to keep it pretty steady. So what I want you to think about is, what's going to allow me to stay most balanced? Is it be forward or back? I want you to choose your lunge that helps you maintain the best position possible. For the front lunge, we're hitting all those same criteria points we just talked about in our standing lunge. The only kicker with this is we have to think about stopping our forward momentum. So we have to make sure when we step forward, we stop, we lower straight down, and come back up. If we don't stop, we tend to do one of these and sink into that front leg really heavily. We want to make sure we try and keep that vertical shin, knee stacked over the heel. Now if we're playing with the back lunge, it's a little easier to find out where that knee needs to be over top of the heel, but it's also easier to fall over top of our quad. So with the back lunge, we have to think about sitting in that back leg and staying just a little bit more vertical in our torso, because it's very easy to collapse and lean over that leg. We don't want to do hunchback lunges. We want to stay nice and tall and upright, because that's going to help us get back up and keep our hips nice and balanced. So how this workout goes, once we've decided on a lunge or lunge variation, we are going to go 3, 2, 1, bam, 7 minutes. You are going to start the workout with 6 push press or 3 push press per side, all right? Once you've done your 6 push press, dumbbells will go down, you'll start lunging, all right? Just start lunging away for a nice smooth set of reps. Beep, 7 minutes, the next minute, pick those dumbbells back up or dumbbell, 6 push press, back into the lunges. So we want to try and keep a pace of the lunge that we can just move consistently with. If we try and go too fast, we're going to have to stand there and be like, it burns so bad, or it burns so good, I got to stop though. So make sure that you're pacing it out for yourself, that you can just keep moving as close to the beep as possible. Every minute, we start the work set with 6 push press, and then right back into the lunge. I hope you guys have fun with this one, you guys. It's a challenging piece mentally and physically. When we hit those push press, I know you're on a timer and you want to get back to those lunges as soon as possible, but make sure we set up that front rack position, that good tall body position before we start executing our push press. So 6 push press doesn't take very long, so set up accordingly, make sure we're set properly so we can execute the best movement possible. Have fun with this one, you guys. We're gonna lead ourselves into the weekend really well with this one. We don't have to squat on Saturday, so looking forward to that. And yeah, it's gonna be a good time, you guys. A really good time moving into the long weekend. As always, have tons of fun, work for quality. We'll see you tomorrow for some more fun stuff. Bye, you guys.